Thank you to our GI Joburg supporters for supporting our Patreon and YouTube membership. You help keep the lights on and the wheels turning. Yo, Joe. Berg. And now for our show.
This is GI Joburg 390, Beyond the Drome, where we're going deep, deep into Cobra's inner sanctum. My name is Steven. I'm joined by Paul.
Hey everybody, and hey Steve.
Hello. Rob sends his regards. Unfortunately, he is ill. Headache, stomach ache. It's nasty. So we gave him the night off. And in at least one respect, it's a good thing because Rob doesn't have a Terradrome of his own, and because we vowed to only talk about toys that we each possess on these long form, toy focused review shows, we finally have opened the floodgates. And Paul said, "Let's do the Terradrome, buddy."
Terradrome time!
Because we both have one. Amazing. And as every good Terradrome should, there's a story accompanying these drones. Paul,
Oh
do you
yeah.
want to tell yours?
Yeah. So let me start from the very, very, very beginning, but keeping it short, of course. So I sort of in the early days of GI Joburg decided I wanted to have a Terradrome, and it was actually very much at that time in the show like a sort of a semi dream for us to all have a Terradrome, and I would have loved to have gotten all of us a Terradrome. I think I even like alluded to that in an episode, but alas, they're quite expensive. Yeah, you remember that,
Of
and
course. Paul,
and
shoot for the stars, brother.
there you
Always.
go. And but these things were pricey, and as a South African, it was like, how do you even like think about getting one of these and then still shipping it to South Africa? Because it was nuts. I mean, there was no option. There were no like fancy forwarding shippers or anything cool like that. So it was very much a pipe dream. And then I even got it into my head that maybe I should buy this thing piecemeal, like find some parts here and there on eBay and then eventually make it up. Very much the same mindset I had with the MCC, um, especially after Stephen got one, an MCC that is. And then fast forward a little bit forward in time, and this wonderful human being by the name of Greg. And I'm always scared of saying his name on our podcast because I don't want to dox the dude, but his name's Greg Crocutt. And thank you, phone. His name is Greg Crocutt, and he runs a toy store there in Indiana as well. And wow, this man decided GI Joburg needs a Terradrome, and he sent us one. Very specifically, sent me one. And it was quite the adventure because him and I had gone back and forth on like how we're going to do the shipping and all of that. And he even threw in a few surprises, and not like one or two. He threw in quite a handful of like vehicles, Joes. It was insane. And then I had a Terradrome, which arrived to me intact. It's quite an amazing thing actually, and it's still an amazing thing to behold. However, it was still missing the turrets, the parapets that hold the guns up, and so I needed to make a plan there. Fast forward to JoeCon, JoeFest, Joe. It is JoeCon.
Chocon.
I'm so confused now because of the branding change. It's JoeCon. Fast forward to the final JoeCon and GI Joburg's first and only JoeCon that we attended, and I managed to get my hands on some parts to effectively complete my Terradrome. I'm still missing the one door gun, and everybody's missing red caps for their cannons, but that's how I came into my Terradrome, and it now adorns one of the display racks in my parents' place, and it is beautiful, and it keeps vigil over the rest of my room. In fact, on the other side of it is my MCC, and then between the
Mm.
two is my HQ. So like, yay, from having like no GI Joe playsets to having three of them, and three of the best, in my opinion. Yeah, so
Well, that invites the question: which is the best? Is
ooh,
HCC, HCC, MCC, Terradrome, or the 1983 HQ?
Find out later in the episode.
Oh, he's gonna leave
Oh,
us in suspense.
yeah, I can't answer
Well,
that right
mine
now.
was a Facebook Marketplace find right on here in Brisbane. Uh, I occasionally just randomly type GI Joe into Facebook Marketplace and see what comes
As one
up.
does.
And on this particular day, lo and behold, I see like several like cardboard sheets basically with figures taped to them and accessories and like numbers. And I'm thinking like, okay, someone's selling off these figures, like each one you kind of have the corresponding number down in the comments or the description and like with a price. So I'm like, don't know if I need that in my life. So that kind of temptation gets very expensive very quickly. But no, it was listed as a lot. And the lot was set at the, you know, realistic price of 260 Australian dollars. It's about
Wow.
150 US, I'm going to say. And there were like
Unbelievable.
three sheets of these loose figures, some complete, a lot of them missing a few things. Like, of course, Wetsuit didn't have his hose. Of course, well, Hooded Cobra Commander didn't have a crotch. The Battle Android Trooper was missing one or two attachments. No, actually, the Bat had everything. Okay, so this is already looking good just in terms of the figures. I keep scrolling the pictures and I'm like, they're vehicles too? There's a maggot, there's a stun, there's a Cobra Wolf, like good stuff. And then I scroll to the last page and very like unceremoniously a Terradrome and a Firebat and an AVAC and a parachute. And I'm like, what the hell? There's even an extra like gun parapet. You know, the part that's like always broken or frequently missing? They had an extra one. Just why? I don't know. Was it a collector? Who knows? I didn't get much of the story, but I clicked, would you be interested in selling this to me very quickly? Turns out they were staying about 15 minutes drive away. So I bundled into the car ASAP. Like I kind of checked it with the spouse, but not really. I mean, even if she said, pump the brakes, Stephen, I'd be like, no, sorry, honey. I'm not sleeping on this. Got there in the nick of time because there were at least two other people in the queue behind me who were like beating down, well, not literally, but like, yeah, on Facebook Messenger, like asking her, okay, if this falls through, I'm next in line, please. And she's like, okay. Turns out it was her sons. They were from New Zealand originally. He'd gone off and I don't know, had his life. She'd been left with his old Terradrome and all his Joes and a few other bits and pieces. And she wasn't going to bother checking with him. I feel a bit dirty having taken his childhood Drome and all
So
his
he's
stuff,
like, you.
but you know, look, the thing does not it's not the most economical in space. So if mom had had her fill of storing this thing for all those years, then who am I to intervene, pump the brakes, tell them, no, wait, maybe you should check with your son if he really wants this gone. Anyways, I bundle this thing into the car. Well, no, I try and bundle the thing into the car. I start with the vehicles. I'm doing things very carefully. The husband or partner, like the dude of the household, just hoiks this Terradrome, like holding it up from like the outer ring. I'm like, no, please support it underneath. I didn't say that. I didn't freak out. Inside, I was freaking out. On the outside, I was cool as a cucumber. I was like, this is fine. This is okay. If anything goes wrong now, it's that's it's not within my hands at this point. I have not
No.
taken delivery of it yet. I've paid them, that's fine. But even if this thing was to crack into 1,000 pieces, I've still kind of come out ahead. But fortunately, he hoiks it into the boot, and it's still in as good shape as it ever was. So I'm delighted. Get home, check this thing out. It's missing very little, and very little is broken. One of the gun doors
Yeah.
it has snapped hinges. There are 3D printable options for that. One of the cannon tips was missing. Only one.
Only
And
one.
I got a repro
Amazing.
from a Spanish repro guy called Clon 3 Repro. It's like clone
Clone
repro,
repro.
but with the 3
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, he's on Instagram, and my reports of him, or my review of him, is mixed. He does amazing bat lenticulars, even if they are a bit stiff and need to kind of be bent to adhere to the cavity. He does the cannon tips, slight color mismatch. I don't know if that's intentional because he wants to avoid them passing for the original, but he likes to pass things off as the original in other respects. So, like, no, I don't think that's his philosophy. I just think he couldn't get the exact right resin color. Yeah, it's as complete as I need it to be. And as I said before, Firebat, AVAC, parachute, lucky boy.
Amazing.
I mean, that is the greatest story of recent memory.
Yeah. I'm surprised. Like whenever you tell the story, I always imagine it like death race, because of the other two people. You got like speeding down
At
the
least
highway.
I'm sure there were
You know?
more.
Yeah.
You can't look that kind of bargain and like just be like immune to it.
And have you smudged your Drome with some sage, just to get rid of any bad juju? Because
Well, I don't know. I because I got it at such a bargain and it was such a good deal. And we are kind of transitory here in Australia. Like we don't know. We're gonna make a move at the end of the year. It's going into storage. It might not make it back to South Africa with me. So I'm enjoying it for all that it's worth right now, right here. It sees a lot of play. It sees a lot of action. I'm constantly tinkering with it. I've run little fairy lights through it to
oh
kind of
yeah.
give the underneath section some much needed illumination. And it kind of makes a cool effect from the top down angle as well. You've got this kind of ring of lights kind of bleeding through the various vents and holes and blast ports. I mean, it's a very porous thing, the Terradrome. It's got lots of little like areas that light can bleed through.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was like I feel like that was intentional, not just from an aesthetic thing, but I think when they designed it, they thought, hey, it would be cool if we put stuff here, because if guys wanted to light it up, or if we want to light it up for display or something for like an event, we can, and it's easy to do. Because
Didn't you put an LED right in the sort of the launch bay
yeah,
cavity
yeah, I
underneath
did.
there,
Yeah,
shining up? Yeah,
I just put
good
a
call.
torch there.
Mhm.
So like, and it looks so cool. Like, when I with the Terradrome, I mean, there's a lot of it's a very weird playset, because if you just look at it as it is, it's kind of just a giant salad spinner, I suppose. Um, and
We should joke that it looks like an ottoman, but you
yes,
don't want to be putting a cushion on top of that thing and putting your feet up. No, no, no.
exactly. No, stuff's gonna break in the worst way as well. But it has that kind of look. But when you zoom in on it and you really get your like head in there, it's quite a like kind of a biggish toy. Not I'm not just talking about the like size of it physically, but I'm talking about like where your mind goes. You got all these passages, and your imagination can really just open up where these doors actually lead to, and how things go and play out there. I know when for the first international backyard that we did, I loved like getting my camera in there, my phone in there, to try and get like a first person kind of perspective of going through the doors, because it just made this thing like bigger. It just made it feel so much bigger than it actually is. And
Not
I mean,
easy with a rectangular camera phone. Much
yeah,
easier
true.
with a small cube of a GoPro. But even so, you're passing it through a doorway and then grabbing it on the other side. Look, it's awkward, but not unachievable.
Mm,
And also, like doing an angle where you're not leaving the sort of open side. Like
mm,
it's not a corridor essentially. In order
yeah,
to access it, you have to remove one wall or flip one wall down. So you're not able to have a sealed set. You're
yeah,
always open on one side. So like, okay, I better dress that somehow. So there are challenges to filming inside of it. And there are challenges to filming on the surface of it as well, because you can't have an unobstructed area where you can maneuver your camera. You're always kind of either peering over the parapet, or if you've got the camera on the inside of the ring, you are very cramped in terms of what movements you can do. It's a very boring way to shoot a pterodrome, always kind of like looking down on it.
Yeah.
But that is obviously the easiest way to do it. So, compromise.
And we figured out some cool stuff when we shot it for Blazing Sands
Blazing
as well,
Sand.
where we shot it in the dark with some sort of strobing effects, etc. And that actually also made it look a lot bigger than it is, which was cool. And it's I always say like we do this and it makes it look bigger than it is, but I've actually I don't know how you felt when you first saw it, Steve, but when I first saw the Pterodrome, I always thought, okay, this thing's not too big. It's maybe about what 30 centimeters wide, maybe a little bit wider than that. That's always how it kind of appeared in pictures, even though you got Joe's in there for scale and all that. But when you
30
actually,
centimeters is just over a foot
mm,
for you Imperial folk.
yes, so sorry, man. Like, I meant to say that as well. Like, yeah, so you're looking at about like what 12 inch, just past 12 inches was like kind of how it always appeared to me. And so
Wow.
when you see it for real, you're like, holy shit, this thing's huge. And I had the same thing with the Night Raven as well. I didn't realize the Night Raven was quite that large. And when I received it, I was like, oh my god, this thing is huge. It is insane. So the Terradrome's kind of got like that weirdness to it. Like at least for me, it's got like a weird like mind compression. When you put your phone on silent and it says no. Anyway,
It's
not to
fighting
hang
you,
it
dude.
land.
Skynet.
Skynet is it's totally doing that whole vibe. Um, so yeah, so my other thing I wanted to ask you with your Terradrome. So you got an extra parapet. So is that the blue one? That's the one that houses a gun, right? Like
Yeah. A high in demand part, which I'm not sure what to do with. I'm gonna hold on to it, but it does, it's on its own, it's not really useful.
yeah,
And I'm not a seller of any kind, so I don't know.
I would
Maybe
suggest
I'll
you hold on to it
raffle
because
it.
the both of them that I've got, the one is a little bit broken, the
Yeah.
clip, and those clips do break pretty easily. I mean, I'm at a point where it's not entirely necessary to do it, but if you really wanted this guy to be more solid, you would want to do some kind of a glue, like glue it onto the Terradrome, or even maybe a silicone, so that it takes less shock. If that makes sense. Um, so you could definitely got that going on there. And are any of your little walls, the little blue walls with the Cobra sigil, are any of those broken on yours?
No.
You're so lucky,
I'm
because those
very
things are always
fortunate.
broken. Like mine's got
There
chipped off it.
is there is one piece of damage, like quite major, but it doesn't affect it at all.
Mm,
Uh, where the launch side is. So the side that has the lever to
mm,
launch the Firebat. I'm sort of explaining this for the audience that maybe aren't familiar. There's a little indication, a little triangular indication that this is the door that you need to open to access that launch lever. Because let's just make this also clear for anyone listening to this who isn't familiar with the Terradrome. Unless you are super, super like uh, strong memoried, let's just say, you can't really divine what you're going to find when you pull down each gray door. You're like,
mm.
is this where the fuel stations are? Where's the prison? Where's that empty room that just has nothing in it? Where's the gun? Well, the gun rooms are obvious. That's how
Yeah.
you kind of situate yourselves. But everything else is kind of a bit of a Russian roulette, shall we say.
Mm. What's
There are
behind
eight
door number 3?
sections,
Yeah.
8 chambers. You spin that and click away. So that room gives you a hint as to its purpose, and that is that little triangular indication. And besides that, there is a crack on mine, which the previous owner has sort of hot glued, but that hot glue has released over time. So yeah, there is a visible crack on the kind of the outer ring of my Terradrome,
Mm.
but does it move? It does not. There's enough structural strength around that saying a lot for something as fragile and rickety as a Drome.
Aerodrome.
But yeah, it kind of holds together friction-wise and doesn't need any gluing, I don't think.
Oh, that's good.
Mm.
So as we've been like on this episode now, I've been looking at a picture on 3D Joe's. Thank you, 3D Joe's, for your awesome archive. Of the Terradrome, the back of the box art, or the photography on the back of the box, and theirs
Oh,
is
yeah.
gray. So the original prototype for the Terradrome was gray, and it's got white computer consoles. And we're gonna bring one up. There we go. And I want to posit a question to you. Do you prefer it in gray or do you like it in white? Like, where do you stand with that?
I think gray is coded as a good guy color. I
Mm,
think the choice to make the top ring of the Terradrome that bone white and that
mm,
cobra blue, they're such strong color choices of the time. Like you've got the claw, the trouble bubble, the snake,
mm.
bringing out the sort of the white armada, and then obviously cobra blue pertaining to the rattler, the ferret, and then the cobra red. Like, yeah, dude, I think retaining that gray would have been a mistake. Whoever made that decision to opt for the sort of the bone white for the majority of the Terradrome, at least the more visible parts, like the top ring, that was a good call. And then naturally making the computer consoles the dark gray. If you don't know what we're talking about, absolutely hit up 3D Joe's, check out the box back,
Yeah.
and you will see the prototype colorization of the
So,
TD.
and I don't know why I'm thinking this way now, but I'm looking at this shot of the Terradrome, and we've just recently come off the success of the Snowcat
Mm-hmm.
from HasLab, which we went to into quite exhaustive detail about in one of our earlier episodes. So please go and check that out if you haven't yet. Um, and I keep thinking, like, why aren't we getting like a HasLab? Like, everybody wants HasLab flag, and I totally get you guys who want one, but like, I would love them to do a HasLab Terradrome, like just a reproduction of the original, maybe with a few like refinements and improvements, because Mattel has done it, and they have done it in my opinion, to great success. I mean, Snake Mountain, Grey Skull, the Eternia playset, and also now the Fright Zone. And the Fright Zone looks incredible. It is so good, and it's got so many improvements over the vintage. And if you guys want to get a really cool detailed video, check out fellow Bergforce member, Chasing 80s Toys, and that's Chris Muir. Please go and check it out. He for me, for my money, has given one of the best reviews on it, because it's not so much a review as it is a, hey, check out this cool toy. And I'm looking at the Terradrome now with this, and I've been thrown into I'm in the throes of nostalgia now because of how this packaging looks, and I'm going, oh man, it would be cool if they did a repro Terradrome and maybe fix up some of the issues that it had. And I kind of feel like this is a great way to segue into, what do you think are the problems with the Terradrome as a toy? I mean, we've mentioned its fragility, but what else would you jump in there with, Steve?
Sorry, I've just wrecked GoBot's scooter.
Oh no.
That's so random. Like, I heard something go ping and like plastic fly off somewhere, and poor old Scooter's cracked his thigh. Oh
Oh
well.
no.
It's okay.
Take
These
that,
things
Scooter.
happen. Yeah, it's sort of the plastic on the side here must have just flew off. Like, he was in scooter mode, so I guess it created enough pressure. Just his legs being kind of bent and up like that. Just went ping.
Oh,
Wow, that was a head scratcher for a sec. Like, what just shot off? Anyway, sidebar. Back to the Terradrome.
suppose that's why they call
What
it a
was the
GoBot.
question, Paul?
Well, I was just gonna say they call it a GoBot because bot goes here and bot goes there. Dad jokes. My question to you was, what do you think are the failings of the Drome? So I've just been speaking about like how it would be cool to get a repro of the Drome through something like HasLab, much to the same effect as Mattel has done with their Fright Zone and Castle Grayskull, etc. So what flaws do you think they would need to fix up if they ever did this as a repro vehicle? Like, what are your chief concerns on the Drome?
Uh, give it a roof. Nah, look,
Yeah.
it's a delight that it's so immediately playable at top level. Uh, and it's true of the GI Joe HQ. Like that doesn't have a roof either.
Hmm.
You just it's the conceit of this toy that like yeah, of course it's not exposed to the weather, surely, right? Um, but yeah, I don't know if there's a way to keep the iconic look and give it a roof. I guess it's got that kind of castle appeal. This is a
Hmm.
parapet. This is, something where defenders are able to shoot over the walls. That's the play pattern that they're inviting here. But like realistically, like this thing needs some covering for its sensitive computer tech. Um, love the Firebat, but it's always seemed strange to me that an air defense base's main defense is a interceptor craft when it really should just be like a surface to air missile.
Hmm.
But where's the fun in that, right? If this was just a missile base.
Indeed.
I think 3 refueling stations might be one too many.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have more variety in terms of what was down there.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Um,
And a way to get from the bottom to the top would be wonderful. If one of those rooms was a staircase leading up to connect the
hmm.
two. It would be very awkward to get figures through there because, unlike the flag, I don't think you'd have this sort of cutaway side wall,
Hmm.
basically, where you'd have full access. Like, there would be a point where you'd be just chucking a figure down or passing a figure up and having to grab him from the top. But yeah, it's always been a failing of the Terradrome that there's no access from top to bottom.
Yeah, it does.
How about you, Paul?
So I agree with you on the Drone being uh too full of fueling stations because it is an issue. So the first thing I would want to do is just have a different pinning mechanism for the doors. So all of the doors, if they could use a different kind of engineering, so that the doors don't like snap off so easily, and if there was a better type of a better latching system for that, because the latch on the Terradromes kind of use these like kind of C clip plastic things that eventually snap over time. It's not so much if, it's when they're gonna break.
Ooh,
And so
yours broken.
I've got one that is broken, yeah, and I've got one that's a bit stressed. But
All of mine are stressed, but they're all still holding
good. Uh,
holding the doors up.
And yeah, hold the door. So I mean, I would like to see that, like an improvement on that. I do echo Steve's sentiments on having some kind of way to get from one of the rooms to the upstairs section. Especially, maybe even just the lever room. They could do something there and maybe find, you know, like a way to get access to the top. Um, it's mostly just the
Oh,
structural.
access
Yes,
to the Firebat from the inside.
yes.
Wouldn't that be cool if there was like sort of a way to get at the jet?
You see, and that's exactly where I was going to go now. It would be cool to have
Right.
access to the central chamber, and I think it would be a lot of fun if, I mean, today, I know things are a little bit tighter with, toy production and whatever. They can't really go as crazy, but it would be cool if you could have, and maybe they offered you two different switch out um, pieces for the middle section. So you got the Firebat, and that's great. But say you wanted it to be Serpentor's throne or something, and they actually had like a
Mm.
Serpentor throne that you could click in there, that it looks right. And so when he's sitting upon his throne, it looks cool there. It would be cool to have something like that, or even like some kind of crazy laser defense weapon that like sticks out the top, or some kind of Cobra, headed, I don't know, something. But it'd be interesting to like find modular attachments that could go into the center there. Part of me feels like,
Yes, because it is such a feature, and for it
yeah,
to always be the same thing that's coming out of these pizza slices is a shame. It would be nice to have some level of suspense, some
totally.
surprise. Like, what's gonna come out of the Terradrome now? Oh my god, it's the Death Laser. Oh my god, it's the Weather Dominator. Oh my god, it's the Pentor and his chariot.
And
Yeah,
also for
cool.
my money, I know that this is also not a difficult thing to do, but it'd be cool if they took all the computer terminals and all the parts that have like screens. It would great it I think it would be awesome if they did like a instead of it being a solid plastic, they made them clear screens, so that you could pop like stickers on them as you would. But that,
Mhm.
for those of us that are maybe a bit more, like interactive with our toys, we could put little LED lights or something in there behind them to make them like really glow up. I wouldn't put it past HasLab, with what they've done with the Hiss and Dragonfly, etc., to maybe even look at putting in a lighting system into the computer terminals. I think that would be like pretty cool, actually. Um,
Mhm.
so like those are the some of the things, and also I think a rifle rack somewhere in this weapon in this Terradrome downstairs. I think
I've
when you,
totally taken I took the Cobra rifle range rack
mm,
and put that in one of the rooms. Yeah,
it definitely needs one.
totally. Yeah.
And yeah, those would be the only like major changes I would do. But I'd love to hear from our listeners and viewers what you have to say in the comments. Like, what would you do to improve a Terradrome? Had they would Hasbro be releasing it, or if even better, maybe even not even better, but maybe Super 7 gets nuts. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Let's
Maybe
give
Super
3D
7.
Joes a rest for a sec,
Yeah.
and let's talk a little bit about the Terradrome in media.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say that its first comic book appearance was in issue 49, Serpentor. And the reason I say this is because you see it. So Cobra Island obviously comes into existence, and they immediately start building uh, Cobra infrastructure on the island. It doesn't get name checked in this issue, but we see a wide shot of Cobra Commander atop a sort of a peak, a mountain peak overlooking the Cobra Island docks. And what is it off to his right? It's a circular thing with a big dual cannon poking out of the one parapet. It's got guys all over the surface. It's got a big dome structure segmented into those pizza slices or pie slices. It's clearly the Terradrome. What is so cool about the Cobra Island Terradrome is it's set into a mountain.
Mm,
So the only thing peeking out, like it's using a piece of natural topography, probably making it a lot stronger. So they had to kind of burrow down to set this base into it. So most of its levels are subterranean, set into a mountain. And you have to drive, you can basically drive up to the roof. You drive along a kind of a craggy precipice, and you could drive your Stinger. Whoops. You can drive your Stinger right up to, I guess, sort of a loading ramp, and then you're on. And then you,
mm.
I suppose, descend into the structure using a little hatchway. We see that all play out in the next issue that I'm going to bring to everyone's attention. Well, no,
Dun,
there's
dun,
an intermediate
dun.
issue that I'm going to also show you called In Search of Candy. This would be issue 45. Everyone will know this is the one where Ripcord illegally punches out over Cobra Island and has a little bit of a duel with Zartan because he's looking for his girlfriend. But we see in the opening splash page, sort of top-down shot with the Sky Striker in the foreground, and far below them is Cobra Island. And we can see where the Terradrome is.
Oh.
For my money, it has migrated because it's no longer next to the docks, but it's beyond the landlocked freighter on the other side of the island, closer to I think, the amphitheater.
Mm,
But hey, whatever. They were still working out, I suppose, the geography of Cobra Island at this point. Because this top down image is absolutely what's reproduced when we see actual maps during the Cobra Island Civil War.
yeah.
This is the structure that they've settled on. So I guess the previous issue's appearance was erroneous. But the next issue where I'd like to ping it has Cobra, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow assaulting Cobra Island in search of Zartan. And there we get to see the inside of a Drome for the first time. This is issue 46. An amazing Mike Zack cover. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just offhand, it's Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes kind of bursting through a doorway. Storm Shadow's got his sword drawn, Snake Eyes got his Uzi. They mean business.
And they're on the same side, it seems, as well.
They are. What's going on? Read and find out. Anyway, this is called Who's Who on Cobra Island, issue 46. And in
Such a cool story. Sorry. Yeah.
Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow fight their way from their stolen Rattler at the airbase to the Drome, where they believe the Hardmaster's killer is hiding. And we get to see them approach the Drome in a vehicle. And as I say, it's kind of set into a mountain peak, so you can drive up to the roof, essentially, and then work your way down into the subterranean levels. And it becomes this kind of running fight through the various sections of the Drome, which you can kind of recreate with the toy. Because if you just populate it with Cobra guys, you can create this infinity corridor. You're just looping round and round endlessly, like get your guys to respawn and give Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes an endless supply of warm bodies to kill.
Man, I'd love to shoot something like that, but it would require going to my folks' place and then setting up the Drome, and it's a whole thing. But
I think you would need to build corridors and chambers out of the Drome. And maybe that's the fun of it. Because it has those flap down doors, because it can be so open plan, you can effectively expand it outwards and just say that all of those extra chambers are, been sunken beneath the ground level. It does give you the option to kind of make a bigger thing of it than it actually is. And people have done that. Like, I've seen plenty of customs that stack Dromes one on top of the other. I haven't seen so much people like building rooms like radiating out from the Drome. That might be an interesting avenue. But like, honestly, who's got the space? We haven't spoken about it yet, but the cost of having such a signature baddie base by making it this ominous round tower is that it just doesn't fit anywhere. It's got no corners. You can't fit it flush into a shelf or on a table. It's the kind of thing that like demands the center of the room, basically.
Yeah, just like Cobra Commander.
But we all invariably have it kind of awkwardly in a corner somewhere. And it just is a space suck. Because you got all that negative space around it that you can't fill.
Yeah. Yeah. If I had one day when I have a nice room to display all my figures, I think I'll definitely have to put the Drome up against the wall that has like a backdrop or something painted or printed and put onto the wall to give it some depth. Otherwise, it'll just have to live in the center of the toy collecting room, of the toy collection, should I say. Yeah.
Well, my friend, there's a lot of win in this issue of GI Joe 46.
Yeah, dude.
But not least of which is just getting a sense of a Drome interior. All of these scenes playing out inside the base, which, yes, absolutely demand this thing to be much bigger than the toy is. The toy is a suggestion of what that space could be. In the same way that you might think that the TTBP should be an actual oil rig sized Joe nautical base. That this is just a snapshot. This is an economical solution to getting all of that fun and excitement in a very manageable bite-size form. Well, the Drome ain't bite-size, but it certainly is smaller than it should be. So it's nice to see it teased out in comic books where you get all of this real estate. You get to see Zartan, well, what Dr. Apple thinks is Zartan, but it's actually Ripcord being loaded into the Firebat. You're able to actually walk up to it. There's a gantry. There's a way of climbing up into the aircraft. There's a sort of control room beside it. Yeah, there's a lot more going on in this book than you can actually achieve with the toy, including a staircase. Cobra troopers have their guns trained on this staircase, expecting Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow to descend at any second. They are sweating bullets. But of course, the ninjas, sneaky guys they are, they pop out of the roof or the ceiling.
And you can kind of do that in the toy too.
Storm Shadow has endless throwing stars.
Yeah.
Yes, Paul?
You can kind of do that in the toy as well because it's got these like it hasn't got a roof, but it's got like enough sort of space if you wanted to try and hide a Joe up in there, like in the ceiling structure. Like
I've done that in a play motion actually.
yeah, and it's
Air Commando.
there you go,
Uh-huh.
and it looks really cool. Well, when I say it looks really cool, it's fun to play out. You know, it's something that worked.
Very ninja.
Very ninja. Man, this book was pretty cool. I remember this. I'm still surprised that we never got like even in the modern era that we never got like a Zartan 2-pack I almost said Freefall, but it's meant to be. You just said his name now.
Ripcord.
Yeah, Ripcord. I'm surprised we
Oh,
never
yeah.
got a Ripcord Zartan 2-pack type thing from the modern era. You know, with the ripcord head that you could pop on Zartan's body or something. It's just weird. I mean, I know you can do it manually, whatever, but it's just odd that they never glomped onto that because it's actually quite a cool like moment in the comic books. You know,
Well,
it's a
the
cool
Sky
rivalry.
Striker HasLab, by giving you a Ripcord, you know, of course, Ripcord has been seen piloting Sky Strikers in the cartoon plenty, and he is, by being a parachutist or a halo jumper, at least he's kind of air vehicle adjacent. So there's a way of explaining that around that. But if you're going to put him in the backseat of the Sky Striker with Ace, yeah, him jumping out in search of his girlfriend in the comic books is always going to come to mind. So I think
Yeah.
at least on some level, that was motivating that inclusion. It wasn't
Okay.
just Cobra's creatures from the cartoon series.
Not just Cobra's
But the
creatures.
last appearance that I'm going to speak about in the comic books, at least this session, because there are a few more, but this kind of sets us in motion in terms of what the Terradromes are meant to be for. They're not just Cobra
Yes.
fortifications.
Is
They
this
have
the
a
benzene?
nefarious.
Sorry.
No, Sierra Gordo. But
Yes.
they
Okay.
sold Terradromes to Benzene. You're absolutely right. They sold them
Yeah.
to Frusenland as well. All of these countries that could be, I suppose, could fall out of American influence and more in favor of Cobra. All these kind of tin pot dictatorships. All these, you know, yeah, all these nations on the fringes were buying up Terradromes because they were affordable. I think Cobra Command, or no, it was Serpentor's brainchild to sell them at a loss.
Mm.
Because why? Because Mindbender had put a piece of technology inside the Terradrome, literally making it a Terradrome.
Mm.
It could beam high frequency paranoia waves into the surrounding population. Anyone not wearing any kind of hearing protection was susceptible to being made paranoid, irritable, angry, confused. Way to go to destabilize a nation when their own, like, so-called air defense stations are
Driving them
creating
nuts.
panic in,
Yeah.
not just within their armed forces, but their civilian population as well. We see that play out in Frusenland specifically. But the issue that I'm throwing up on screen right now is issue 54. It's got Flint on the cover, parachuting down over a Terradrome, while a blue Firebat is about to mince him with its guns. It's called Launch Base. They still didn't name check it as the Terradrome. I think maybe Larry was holding back from saying Terradrome because he didn't want to tip his hand. Like, calling it Terradrome might get people wondering, like, why is it called a Terradrome? It's very much posited as a launch base because that's its chief function, at least the function that it's being sold as having to these tin pot counter-revolutionaries of Sierra Gordo. It's a air defense base that launches an interceptor vehicle that could knock out F-16s, F-14s, F-15s, whatever the US was sending up, or its allies. And it's
And now we also,
also very
yeah,
modular.
yes,
Like, they lean into the fact that these are prefabricated fortresses. All the parts are made in a factory, shipped overseas, built very quickly, very simply. So it's a lovely fourth wall break because the toy is like that.
yeah.
A lot of the panels are repeats. It's the same molded piece repeated over and over again, just clips in, and you've got this very signature look.
Also, I like that this comic tries to explain why it's called a Drome, as opposed to it just being, like a bad guy base and it
A
needing
cool
like
name.
a rock and roll name or a heavy metal name, should I say. Now at least we got like a reason why it does its thing. And also a reason to bring Psych out of your toy box and into play. Because you need a character like you need a specialist like Psych to help, destabilize these terror waves.
Ugh,
Not that they use him in the
missed
comic or anything.
opportunity, dude. I think
Yeah.
he never made an appearance in that instance. But he was still, I think, a year off from release.
Yeah.
But mind you, they did feature Battle Force 2000 and the Persuader in that story arc, so he could have made an appearance. Damn.
Could have. Just wasn't. Tisk tisk.
Maybe that could be a special mission. We can tell, in order to defeat it. Well, no, look, Larry famously wraps it up very quickly. Once the secret of the Terradromes is revealed, they pack it in.
Oh.
So Joe doesn't actually have to overcome the paranoia waves. Cobra kind of pull the plug on the whole scheme because no one's going to buy their Terradromes if they know what the real purpose is.
Yeah.
Didn't think that one through, did he, Serpentor? Oh dear.
Oh, they just should have hidden it better,
Mind you, I suppose it was Fred Seven who was large and in charge by that point, and he was none too bright. Smart engineer, but not the best steward of leadership.
I think it's still a cool concept though. Like you set up a base, and I mean, like some would argue that that's what's happening today, and that it's not necessarily like something as scientifically out there or science fiction-ish as high frequencies and whatever's used on us, but rather just fake news and artificially generated news and all that, And so it's funny how we've gone from a sci-fi concept and an analog mindset to a digital version of that. Anyway, not to remind us too much of the horrors of the real world, back to the Terradrome.
What about the cartoon, Paul? Do you have any firm memories?
So I before this, Steve, you and I were just chatting briefly about this, and I kept thinking of the cartoon having Terradromes, and I kept thinking of it in the same vein as when when all of these Terradromes are being dropped off in, Friesland and, Sierra Gordo and stuff. But then I was like getting the comic and the cartoon mixed. But we did a quick search and we did find that you see a Terradrome in Arise, Serpentor, Arise. And it's not just like
In the
there.
opening sequence,
Yes.
I mean, the credits.
Yep.
Not the credits. There are no credits. Basically, yeah, the opening sequence to the
Opening
second
sequence.
season. Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
And there's an
Unmistakable.
infiltration mission. The Joes go in there to go and rescue Sergeant Slaughter. And to prevent Sergeant Slaughter's genes from being used to create Serpentor. So there's also that. So we do kind of get it. And you know what we totally forgot about is the video game portrayals of this. Well, I wouldn't say we forgot about it, but I'm excited to mention it. Is an
Go
arcade
right
game.
ahead, my friend.
The arcade
Oh,
game has a
yes.
Terradrome that you actually run towards and then go into. And that was pretty freaking cool. I remember that being pretty rad. And then we don't really see a Terradrome again, like in the gaming side of. Do we kind of see one in the PlayStation game? No, I want to say yes, but I don't think there is one. No, No, it's just the one I can think of now is just the, and I'm talking about real video games, people. I'm not talking about mobile games because no. um, yeah, the arcade has a
Paul,
great
have you played
representation.
Wrath of Cobra at all?
Not yet. I'm waiting for
Mm.
it to drop in to go on discount. Sorry, guys. I know it's bad to say that as a GI Joe fan, but
No,
I'm waiting for it to
I've
drop
not
in.
played it either. I played the demo levels, and then I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I dig this so much. As a Joe fan, I should get it. I did get Operation Blackout, and I played as much as I could before I was like, I'm not really very good at this.
Oh,
If there was an easier level of play, I'd opt to do that because I'm just dying a lot. That's not fun to be dying a lot.
I think to be fair, I don't think it's
But
that well
I
made.
can't
But
recall
anyway,
if there is a level set on the Terradrome in Wrath of Cobra.
it would make sense
Sure.
if they had one. Certainly. I mean that demo level feels like it's inside a Terradrome, but then
It
again, it
was in a
also feels.
castle, the Cobra
So it's
castle.
Silent Castle, okay, or Cobra Castle, or whatever they want to call it. Yeah, I don't want to get too into weeds about that game, but I do want us to do a feature on that game one day in the near future because I think it's worth speaking about. As far as GI Joe games, it's certainly not the worst, and it's certainly better than than pretty much any GI Joe game that came out after 2000.
Was
So
there a Terradrome level in the Rise of Cobra video game adaptation?
I
Movie
keep
game.
thinking there was. I really like.
Look, you definitely did fight a final battle on top of the pit.
Yes.
Like Cobra had taken control of the pit. And this is the Rise of Cobra pit, which is a giant rolling fortress.
Mm.
Um, but I don't recall the Terradrome being dusted off.
Yeah.
So
There
yeah,
was
man. What video game has the Terradrome in it, Paulie? Just the arcade.
just the arcade that I can think of, eh? And then okay, and then I know I was being like pissy about it earlier, but I think there's one of the mobile games has it. That
Oh, for sure.
that little Clash of Clans style, yeah, GI Joe game, yeah, that has a Terradrome, if memory serves. So, there's something there. So just to like, I'm gonna take us back to like the 80s as well now with this guy, with this toy. And well, when I say back to the 80s, but then kind of shoot us back to the future as well. It's kind of there's a lot of like as a kid, I would have gone nuts for this because it's a large play set. It's got a lot of cavernous things to it. But I know that if my parents had like said to me, no, which most parents would be like, no, it's an expensive toy. Then I'd have to work up a sales pitch to get this, and that is the one major struggle I have with the Terradrome. It has got too many fueling stations, as you mentioned earlier. And for me as a kid, I might get a little bit too fixated on that, and it would have made it harder for me to sell it to my folks because it would have just, in essence, it's just a big petrol station. And I would have had, I really would have, and this is to kind of answer a question that you threw out in the beginning of this. It would have been harder for me to sell this over something like of the MCC, which I could also sell to my folks as being, oh, well, look, it collapses and gets smaller and it's easier to store and it won't make such a mess and all that kind of thing. So the Terradrome had that going against it. And then fast forward to today, it is one of the features that bugs me, is that it has too many fuel ports. Like, I know we kind of did like a like things we would improve kind of part of this podcast, but it does bug me that they didn't take more time to make the individual rooms more interesting. And I feel like it's such a wasted opportunity. There's so many. I mean, we got the jail cell, which is fun.
Ooh,
You know.
favorite room.
Yep.
Force field. What a cool sticker.
Yes. So you
Like,
got
not
that
only
room.
is it the sliding gate,
Mm.
but it also says force field, which implies that I guess you can't pass notes or illicit items through the bars.
Yeah.
They'll they'll burst.
They'll explode, fizzle out.
But a lovely design choice to make them those kind of elongated ovals.
Yes.
It's very. I mean, do you know what reference I'm thinking of? I'm beaming it to you telepathically. Star Wars has a lot of that.
Yes, I was gonna say Star Wars.
A lot of
And
that shape kind of repeated.
yeah, so and so that's what's weird about this guy, because you've got like that kind of visual interest going on with the jail cell. You got upstairs looking amazing, but most of the rooms are very plain, and they do lack a lot of personality, and they do lack reasons to put characters in there other than to make them run through, or to put them in transit, or to park a ferret. And also, to be fair, as a petrol station, not the best thing, because you can only really park a ferret, and I don't recommend like a vamp or a stinger. I mean, you could get it there kind of.
Do you
The
put
but
anything on your grey doors? I
Yes, I
don't
do.
want to put anything on top of them.
I had for a long time. I had the grey doors open with the Snake Tracks ATV parked on that, and it was
Hmm.
stable. It had no issues. And also for a while, I had guys like standing on it, kind of like in situ, kind of playing it out, because that's how I would have fun with my Drome when it was at my folks' place. Is that I would set up these like little scenes, have a few Joes here and there, a few Cobras here and there, and kind of just it would be cool to look at that and like play it out in my head and stuff. Um, but yeah, so I do that. But yeah, just as a fueling station, it's quite limited. So you can really, I mean, I suppose you could also use the buzzball. It just has a bit of it's a bit tricky to get on there, if you know what I mean. If you tried it with your buzzball, Steve, if you haven't had a chance to, if you haven't considered it. Um, Snake armor
Surely
is
the best ones are, yeah, the ferret and the
mm,
flight pod. The flight pod has a fuel
yes,
nozzle.
it does, yeah.
The buzzball has nothing.
I That's something I think would have been so cool, is if they had put out like a hanger, like something that you could connect the flight pod to on the end of, because it would have looked, I think it aesthetically would have looked so cool if you had the flight pods like tacked to the Terradrome itself. And now we're going into like,
Where do you stand on the Cobra claws being designed to hang off the doors?
yeah, it's fun till you want to open the doors, then you have to move them. And
Well,
I
that's not a big deal. That's not a deal breaker. Basically, do you think that people are smoking something, or do you think this is
like
a
an
good
Easter egg,
way
a
of
hidden feature.
displaying claws?
When I see it, it looks cool, but I've never really been able to pull it off. Like, doesn't
It's like Doc Stretcher on the Dragonfly skids.
yeah. But that was actually like,
I
yeah,
I don't think it's a legitimate hack. I don't like the look of it. You got this impregnable fortress. What are you
mm,
doing hanging vehicles off the outside of it?
yeah, they can get to the top easily as well. Yeah,
Eh,
it's kind
Park
of
that
lame.
stuff in a hangar somewhere.
I do like what it looks like when if you take a photo of it, or if you look at it in isolation. So you, like, if we were shooting play motion or something, and you had like just took one of the doors out and put a claw on that, and then had like a sequence with guys grabbing a claw off the wall and then moving on, and then another guy coming like that works well. But in context of it being the wall of a Terradrome on the outside, no, it's a bad idea. It's lame. Um, I don't think that. Um, and I don't think they posited in the manual either. They like don't mention anything about that in the
Nah,
actual
I think
manual.
I think it's purely a hack that people have found after the fact. We can take a look at 3D Joe's once again. Always the best resource for very clear images. I don't know why his Terradrome in the 3D spin or the arc spin technology is unstickered. That's a bit unfortunate. So much information on the stick. Well, the stickers, you need a good example, a good stickered example of the Terradrome
Mm,
in case you are doing repro labels, because as you can imagine, for something this size, the blueprints themselves are woefully inadequate in terms of
yeah,
like just clearing up some of the confusions of
too
where
much
stickers go
ambiguity.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Too much left to interpretation in terms of how high to put things on a wall, Yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to stick a mine, to be honest. Glad it was all done long before I came along.
Yeah, same. But the design of the stickers is cool. It's got that
Oh, that
it's got-
Cobra lettering, so
yes,
cool.
it's got that awesome Cobra aesthetic that you see across like the snake armor and the ferret
The
and
Z05 on the Firebat wing, such a signature. Not as signature as 788, but close enough.
mm.
The box
That's the
back has a lovely blurb. This insidious fortress lies deep within Cobra forests. Okay. It's based on Cobra Command's top secret designs and includes some of the most sophisticated technology in the Cobra's weapons arsenal. Why just forests? Surely forests don't give you the best line of sight.
And is a petrol station considered sophisticated technology? Because it's certainly got.
Well, if you take it to be an air defense base and it
Mm,
doesn't have missiles, what it does have are lasers.
yeah.
Its primary weapon, those turrets, are the white hot laser cannons.
Mm,
And, like, let's get the elephant out of the room. Like, a static fortification when you're fighting an enemy like GI Joe who have supersonic bombers, that, Phantom X-19s and Rolling Thunders with, like, flippin' cluster bomb ICBMs.
mm,
Like, this seems ludicrous. But
mm,
if you take those to be highly sophisticated lasers that basically, like, can intercept missiles because they are light beam weapons,
mm.
all of a sudden the Terradrome is a far more defensible position.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it's tracking an incoming missile, it lines it up with those lasers, clicks them on, and, you know, 18 miles away, a bomb or missile explodes in midair.
Yeah.
That's why
Especially
you
if
want
you
to put your
use.
Terradrome on like a mountaintop, basically.
Yeah, and it's a special like especially against something like you said, missiles or stealth fighters where actual line of sight is the best way to target it. It's
Mm.
like to see it because radar it might mess with the radar and the radar signal. I suppose heat-seeking missiles could probably hit the stealth very definitely if they can get to the ceiling of a stealth fighter where a stealth fighter operates. But yeah, lasers all the way. Lasers are great. We like lasers because they make the 80s awesome and they make GI Joe awesome. And there's red ones and blue ones, just like Star Wars.
I mean, as far as lasers are concerned, the Terradrome's probably got the biggest laser guns,
Mm.
to my mind. I don't know. Can you think of a larger laser weapon, dedicated laser weapon? Maybe
So
on the wings of the Ghost Striker X-16? Maybe.
yeah, or because when we got to the missile firing era of GI Joe, a lot of those missiles were allegedly energy blasts. And I think the
Really?
Monster Blaster, I think that's kind of on that thing. I think that's meant to be a laser of some form, like a plasma gun or something like that.
No. Come on. It's a
From
missile
like,
fire missile firing cannon. If
is
there's
it a
a,
missile
if there's
firing cannon specifically? Because there were one or two like vehicles where it was very like it's shooting a laser, but it's actually just a missile that comes out of it, like a laser bolt. But
We
hey,
can do
whatever.
this right
Yeah,
now.
let's check it out quickly.
Agrees.
I mean,
Yeah,
we got
Monster
to make
Blast
sure.
APC.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Otherwise,
yeah.
the listeners will toss and turn. So, it is a lock and load missile cannon
Ah,
with auto
okay,
lift
cool.
canopy system. But thanks for playing, Paul.
Oh, it's cool. I mean, and there's also a nice way for me to see the Monster Blaster on the show as well. I do love this
Always.
vehicle. Such a cool
It's a
toy.
goodie.
It's the it's the Aliens APC for your vintage Joes.
Why have I flicked onto the Firebat? Come on.
You got excited there. You were like, "Hey, I saw."
Cobra Terror Drome. So, we could talk about this thing for days.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about the card, the box art at all? It is absolutely like, as I think Cujo put it best when he was like, "It's the Last Supper."
Yes,
It's got
actually.
every Cobra just. The Serpento's off to the side, and Cobra Commander is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
But you've got this absolute rogues gallery of Xandar, Storm Shadow, Ripper, Telly Viper, flanked by a Viper and a Crimson Guardsman. on top.
And those
Then
the Dreadnoughts doing their thing, you know.
the artist has filled in what is probably the most shameful aspect of the Terradrome, the fact that like you can look under her skirt. If you flip
Yes.
open all the doors and you look up, it looks very skeletal. I know you said that's an area where you can like play out like a ninja dropping from the ceiling, but there's just zero detail, no sculpting. It's ugly. And that's exactly where I ran the wires for my
Yeah.
lighting setup. But getting past that, and you go into the lower level, and you've got some more Dreadnought action. Torch
Yeah.
and Monkey Wrench. Then the middle section, you got the Twins and Mindbender. And then off to the side, Serpentor, Buzzer, and a lone bat
Yeah.
firing his flamethrower. Who's in the
So
jail cell, Paul? Who's in the jail cell?
it looks like dial tone. In
Yeah,
fact, I
I
think it is
agree.
dial tone.
They got GI Joe's Como guy. He must know some secrets.
Yep. Yep, he knows stuff. But like just talking about those like okay, so you asked me a question about the artwork. Yeah, kudos to the artist. I mean, this is not an easy toy to paint up for box art. I think there's many ways that it could have been done that would have been cool Terradrome art, but not cool Terradrome toy box art. And I think this was a smart way of kind of doing that. I don't know, I haven't seen this artwork in person, so I don't know what kind of like impact it would have had on me as a child. I just know that when I see it small on a screen, it kind of makes me feel like, again, that I'd think that this thing was a lot smaller than it was. And yeah,
I can make it big.
I can make it big. But you know what would totally mess with my head is the stuff that you don't see. See, as a kid, I'd be going, okay, so what are the other features? There's got to be stuff on the other side, and like what's going on in there, and that would make me pick up the box. So, in terms of like, does it work? Yes, it works very well as box art. Does it work very well as an artwork? It's definitely not the strongest entry in the GI Joe box art, even though it's a lot of fun with all of the shooting and you know the cast of characters. I mean, you even got Storm Shadow on there, which was released.
Compromises had to be made though, Paul. Like
Mm,
like they had to kind of squash it in because it is fitting this very square dimension.
of course, yeah,
And also cheating in terms of like putting a fueling port next to the jail cell next to a turret. I
yes,
don't think
showing the features.
those
Mm,
actually are in sequence. I'm
no,
not. I could be mistaken. I can't tell you guys enough. Like I don't have like total recall of what room is in what order. I think obviously the three fuel ports are adjacent to one another. Does that then run into the jail cell?
so there's a jail cell next to
Did
the
they get it
swing
right?
gun. Yeah, there is a jail
Yes.
cell next to the swing gun, and there is a petrol station, a fueling station
Okay.
next to the jail cell. So it's correct, but it's just where it is in relation, like the actual front of the Terradrome, if we can call the section between the two parapets the front, that's
Yeah.
actually a fueling station. So
Right.
not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
they've
then on the
twisted
back
the
of the
top.
yeah. But then you look at the back of the box, and then you got the swing out gun is the center of the with two fueling stations adjacent to it. So like
Well, at least that makes it a logical front section. Like
yeah,
I suppose you want your Terradrome to be defendable all the way around,
mm,
but you're dealing with just two top guns and two bottom guns, so there will be a blind spot. In
mm,
fact, they hang a lantern on it in one of the issues of ARAR, because Larry, I suppose, refused to make those lasers. They were massive, massive cannons, and because they were being assaulted by infantry, they couldn't depress the cannons low enough to engage them.
mm,
These were guns, these were big, long guns that were meant to lob shells like miles away, but they were being used to try and repel guys advancing on the Terradrome, so they weren't up to the challenge. They couldn't actually sight them properly to
mm.
try and bring the shells down without really being able to see what they were shooting at.
Yeah, it's a long range firing system.
Tricky, tricky. Anyway,
Okay,
I think I've said all I wanted to say about the Terradrome for now.
me too.
Anyways,
Yeah,
it's
and
a fertile topic we can always revisit. But this has been GI Joburg's review, long form review anyway, of the TD. Maybe we'll do a shorter one someday.
yeah, probably. Oh, but also reminding you to play with your Terradrome, guys. If you got one, get in there. You can say as many bad things or negative things about this toy as you want, but if you got one in front of you and you can actually play with it, it's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of fun to be had, and
Well,
it's under your
okay, let's
imagination.
open that topic, Paul.
Yeah.
What does the Terradrome mean to you? Like, what is its value to you in 2025?
Well, it's my biggest GI Joe vehicle. Let's start with that. Like,
You regard it as a vehicle?
well, it's my biggest GI Joe toy. Let's say that because it is.
It has been made to fly in GI Joe Play Motion before.
It has been. um, it is my Cobra base. It is uh probably the biggest toy I own. I think that's fair to say. It's a little bit bigger than the Metal Gear Rex that I have. So it means, and it's also like it's a great for me. It's a great milestone as a GI Joe collector. It's my I don't want to call it my consolation prize, but it's what I wanted instead of the flag, and I
Hmm.
still feel for me it's better than the flag. Petrol stations at all. That's what it means to me. Also means adventures and scheming.
Yep. Good. Excellent. For me, it's just a great digs for the Cobras. They need a central hub, a
Mm,
node, a nerve center. Like all of their gear and equipment and nefarious stuff can kind of radiate outwards, but this gives them a central place to hang out. And coming back to that suggestion you made earlier in this podcast, I wish the center point of the Terradrome was more adaptable
mm,
and not just dedicated as a Firebat launch base. Because I can't quite get my Firebat low enough to then close the doors over the nose cone. I'm obviously not doing something right, but I'm not
yeah.
keen on finagling it too much because it's all very creaky and very thin. Like the platform that that the Firebat is slotting into is just like a frame. It's not a
Mm.
hardy, thick piece of like slab of plastic. It is very rickety. So I don't want to push it down too hard. And I kind of wish that it just was something else for the most part. I like having my Firebat quick to hand, so it's actually just perched on my shelf. There's nothing in the middle of my Terradrome, and I wish there was. Maybe one can do a custom like throne room,
Yeah.
but then you got those pizza slices poking up. It's yeah,
Yeah, but that's
it's a
cool because
tease.
it gives it something, if you do that. So gives it like an energy if you have that there. But guys who are smart with well, all of us can like come up with an idea that works around that. So I don't think it's too
Yep.
much of a challenge. If I had a 3D printer, I think I would have dicked around and figured out something by now already. So yeah.
Do you have any post Sunbow era Cobras lurking around there?
Um, on my Terradrome currently, or here where I am right now?
There's a difference.
Well, my Terradrome's at my folks' place,
Yeah.
so
So
yeah,
you've moved all your loose figures
they
to
all
your
my loose
digs.
figures
Okay.
live with me. Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Well, in your optimal setting, who would be in your Terradrome?
oh, that's a
Do you
great
have
question.
like anyone in a Cobra uniform could come, or do you have certain personnel that you want occupying your Terradrome?
I I'm gonna sound so weird when I say this, but I'm sure it's pretty normal. I don't like putting 90s Joes and Cobra into the Terradrome. Like I really like keeping it 80s. So everything that I pop in here is gonna be like original Mindbender, original Cobra Commander, even Battle Armor Cobra Commander. I think works really well. I
Do
do
you have
like
a hooded Cobra Commander, Paul?
I do, yes.
Good.
No, wait, not wait. Yes, I do. I do have a hooded Cobra Commander. But I prefer the helmeted one for this.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm good because I've also got Talking Battle Commanders, Cobra Commander. I'm also like thinking, do I have a hooded Cobra Commander? No, actually, I don't. I like having the normal Fang gang. So my hierarchy: Baroness, Cobra Commander, Destro. Definitely have to be here. I do enjoy having Zartan like sneaking around now that I have a Zartan. If I had more than one bat, you can be sure that I'd have more than one bat on the Terror Drum. And it is great to have Mindbender around the jail cell area, which is a lot of fun. And I like Televipers, but like not on the guns. I like them by the computer stations. They're a lot of fun. And I actually have Scrap Iron mounting one of my guns. Well, I had him mounting one of my guns. That's often where I like to pop him. And that's generally my cost. I like to keep the hierarchy there, and then because I don't have too many troop builders for them. But any like
Who's
kind
on
of
the other guns?
the other gun, I think I had who did I have on the other gun for a while? I had a normal Cobra trooper, like or Cobra officer. I had the other gun, and then there was another guy that I used as well. It wasn't Big Boa. Actually, it was Big Boa because it's weird, like having him like with his
He's
dogs like.
mashing
"Roo."
those big screens with his mitts,
I also
his
enjoy the idea of like
gloves.
throwing in like a Night Viper on these things as well. It's pretty cool. Like like providing,
Okay.
you know,
So Night Viper isn't too far out of the realm.
yeah.
The sweet spot. Okay, good. Hey man, just the other day I had Destro in one of the big guns because that was the Weather Dominator. I was like,
Oh, okay.
I will control the power of nature itself. Awesome.
The just a like maybe a little like fun Easter egg play feature as well is if you do have the modern era Weather Dominator, I think you could. I think just based on my mental image here, you could probably pop that in the middle section as well. So you could actually convincingly get some Weather Dominator play out of the. And I'm talking about the 25th anniversary builder Weather Dominator that you can find probably very expensive now on eBay. I remember there were parts of it going for quite cheap back in the day, but you could pop that in the middle of the Terror Drum as well. That wouldn't look too out of place, I think.
I think much like it's the Weather Dominator that has one piece that is obscenely expensive. Like it was
Yeah.
short produced or something. I think it's the crystal.
Yes.
So like the key part that makes this thing complete. Like, ugh,
And then there's the Master
gosh.
Vice as well. So
Yes.
yeah.
Or
So you could like
no, it's the
pop.
Master Vice crystal.
Yes,
That's what it
Master
is.
Vice, and then the Weather Dominator. Yeah, that's that you could pop in there. I should actually try that with mine. I think I have. I just forgotten that I did because I
Well,
have got
take a
the.
picture, put it on the
Remember,
GI Joburg socials, bro.
at some point when I go back to my folks' place, I'll remember to do that. Now I have something to do when I go there, other than
I'm
seeing my
mine
folks.
for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. Yeah,
Well,
I think
without
we have.
further ado,
Yeah.
we are GI Joburg. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, a trio again. I hope
Yes.
Rob's mending up,
And then
healing up,
just a heads
feeling up.
up for everybody. Rob and I will be at Comic Con from the 28th of August to the 31st of August. I can never remember. 30th of August.
That weekend, end of
That
August,
weekend.
be there.
Yes. So yeah, we're gonna do that. So
Where's
we
Comic
have
Con,
an episode.
bro?
Comic Con is going to be in Joburg. So it's Comic Con Joburg. And yeah, Rob and I will be there. Rob will be there with Reader's Den, the comic store he works with. I'll be there with my Gunpla SA, the Warp and Nexus Hub, doing
What
our thing.
venue is it in, dude?
It's in Nasrec again.
Oh yeah.
So it'll be in Nasrec, which for international listeners is the convention center next to the international stadium, our international stadium, which was used for the World Cup soccer. So that's where I'll be over that weekend. Getting excited and geeking out. Hopefully, seeing some new toy things, which are exciting. So that'll be cool.
I will not be in attendance, but I am very excitedly looking forward to heading home end of October.
Yay!
Not in time for your birthday, but shortly thereafter, Paulus.
Yay!
Tickets are booked. The Jabba clan descends on Cape Town. Yeah, October 29th.
Yay!
To reunite myself with all my old playthings and a few new ones. The operation to smuggle the general back to South Africa is underway. I have a bag of packing peanuts, which I picked up on Facebook Marketplace. Once again, singing the praises of that place for 15 Australian dollars, which is like 10 US. The bag is as tall as I am. So that's some value right there.
Smuggler
Everything
Steve.
is going to be bathing in packing peanuts. But it's
Sweet.
pretty effective, I think. I think if peanuts just give you the cushioning that you need, shock absorption, to just have something suspended, floating,
Yeah, like
weightless.
Demolition Man style, you know.
Because if you've held a general, you know it's a weighty beast. Just the other day, I sent a video message to you and Rob, demonstrating how through normal rolling play, the general grinds its own axles away into oblivion. Like there is plastic residue on the inside of the wheel hubs, where it has the sort of the mushroom clip pushed through, and just driving this thing along, just like grinds it. Like you can see the plastic just like forming a residue that just cakes itself until
GI
eventually, I
Joburg
guess, it
General,
becomes so thin that they just shear right off.
GI Joburg General mod when, Steve. You're gonna put it
The
on
general
skateboard.
mod is to just never roll it ever. You
Okay.
just leave it as a static vehicle that happens to be on wheels, but is actually just a base.
Just a base.
You
Cool.
park it and you leave it. Anyway, maybe we'll talk about that another day. Maybe
Yes.
when I'm on my own, because I'm the only one who has one.
Or when you bring it to South Africa, at least you and Rob will be in the same space, you know. Unless I can somehow
Expect me to
magically get
shoot a
myself there.
reaction video of Rob encountering it for the first time.
Yes.
Messing it with for the first time. And me like freaking out on the sidelines thinking like, should I tell him how to open the doors? I mean the helicopter pads, or should I just let him figure it out and hope they survive?
Find out here on GI Joburg.
Exactly. Watch me cringe. As always, thanks to our patrons. You guys are legends. Thanks to the YouTube members. You guys are also legends. Being treated to some vlog action. I'm actually doing a exercise where I'm doing 0 edit to play motions. They're all happening in camera because I was thinking this is very far divorced from what actual play is like for me. Let me do 1-ease basically. Set up my scene so that I can go through it in one camera move, all the voices, all the sound effects live, so that I'm not playing with my toys for 20 minutes and then spending an hour to 2 hours in front of my
Editing them.
laptop.
Yeah.
That ain't fun.
No, it's
I
not
mean,
fun.
sure, it's fun on the rewatch, but like, yeah, I want to make it fun for me too. And
Yeah.
hopefully you find folk who pay $3 a month to watch my vlog nonsense. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the ride too. I also did an unboxing of this lovely bad luck lady.
Oh, did you?
The Super 7 Jinx without the mask. And gotta be honest, man, and this is a topic for another time, I'm finding it hard to love her. I don't know if I'm on board with Super 7 just yet.
Okay, cool. Well,
But
when I
that's a
get
me
mine,
problem.
yeah, well, I'd love to chat about it when I get mine. Hopefully that'll be next month. I'll ship it off next month, and then I can also have an opinion on this, and you and I can also get in there.
Yo, Joe!
Bug.